You're at a dinner party. Someone asks what you do, and you freeze. Because how do you explain that last month you were learning Portuguese, this week you're building a website, and yesterday you got weirdly obsessed with how submarines work? You watch your friend talk for 20 minutes about their photography business. One thing, one passion, their whole identity wrapped up in a single answer. Meanwhile, your Kindle has half-finished books on astrophysics, sourdough baking, and the history of fonts. If this sounds like you, let me tell you something nobody's probably told you before. You're not broken, you're not ADD. And you're definitely not wasting your potential. You just happen to be wired like Leonardo da Vinci instead of like everyone else. Let me explain what I mean. Most people's brains are like restaurants with one signature dish. They perfect it, they're known for it, it's their thing. Your brain? It's a food truck that changes the menu every week. And here's the wild part. There's actually science behind why you can't just pick one thing and stick with it. Some brains get a hit of satisfaction from going deep, mastering, perfecting. Yours gets that same hit from going wide, exploring, connecting. It's not better or worse, it's just different wiring. Think about it like this. You know that feeling when you first discover something new? When everything clicks and you can't stop reading about it? That's your brain lighting up. Most people feel that. Ride the wave and then settle into routine mastery. You feel that, ride the wave, and then the second it becomes routine, your brain goes, cool, what's next? Not because you're flaky, because the new thing stops being new. And your brain is fundamentally designed to seek novelty, not repetition. Here's the brutal part, though. Society punishes you for this. Jack of all trades, master of none. You need to pick one thing. Successful people specialize. So you try. You force yourself to commit to something, anything, just to prove you're not scattered. And it feels like suffocating, because the world is built for specialists. School wants you to pick a major. Jobs want you to stay in your lane. Even your LinkedIn profile is basically asking, but what are you? And you're sitting there thinking, I'm 5 things, maybe 7. But there's no box for that. So you start carrying this weird guilt. Every time you get excited about something new, there's this voice, here we go again. Every time you drift away from something you were into last month, you never finish anything. And the worst part? You start believing it's a character flaw, when actually, it's just how your brain works. Let's zoom out for a second. You know what they call people who do this at the highest level? Polymaths, Renaissance thinkers. Leonardo da Vinci painted, engineered, studied anatomy, designed weapons, and invented flying machines. Steve Jobs studied calligraphy, Zen Buddhism, and technology. The people who changed the world didn't pick one lane. They built highways between completely unrelated ideas. Your too many interests problem. That's literally how their brains work too. But here's the difference. They lived in times or contexts that celebrated it. You live in a world that thinks focus is the only path to success. So you feel like chaos. When actually, you're building something most people can't even see. You're not just learning random skills. You're building a cross-pollinated mind. When you study linguistics and then get into graphic design, your brain doesn't reset. It starts seeing patterns in visual communication because of language structure. When you learn pottery and then pick up coding, you're transferring the same iterative problem-solving across both. You know where the best ideas come from? Not from people who know everything about one thing. From people who know something about everything and can connect dots across fields. That biology major who walks into a design problem and sees it differently. That musician who applies rhythm theory to data analysis. That person who can't pick just one thing and ends up bringing 5 perspectives into the same room. That's not scattered. That's synthesis, and your brain is built for it. But here's what nobody tells you. You'll never feel like you've arrived, because specialists get clear feedback. Practice, improve, master, repeat. You're jumping between worlds. No single metric of success. No straight line. Just this constant expansion into new territories. And society has no framework for that. There's no career path called person who knows a lot about everything. No degree in professional curiosity. So you feel lost, when actually you're just exploring. Here's the question you've been asking wrong. You keep asking, what should I focus on? When the real question is, What if I'm not supposed to focus? What if the thing you see as a flaw is actually the whole point? Because here's the truth. The world doesn't just need deep wells. It needs aqueducts between them. It needs people who can translate across disciplines, who can see patterns others miss because they're not trapped in one box. While specialists dig deeper, you're building bridges. Both are valuable, but only one gets celebrated. And you've spent your whole life thinking you're doing it wrong, when actually you're just doing something most people's brains aren't wired to do. So here's what I want you to hear. You're not avoiding depth. You're building width, and width is how you see the whole picture. Mastery isn't the only form of expertise. Curiosity is a valid life strategy. Knowing a little about everything isn't shallow. It's how you connect ideas that live in completely different worlds. The world tells you to pick one thing, to go deep, to become the best at something. But what if you're not meant to be a laser? What if you're supposed to be a prism, taking one beam of light and splitting it into every color? What if your refusal to commit to one interest isn't failure? What if it's your brain protecting something rare? You're not broken. You're not scattered. You're just someone who's wired to explore, not to settle, whose best thinking happens at intersections, not in isolated boxes, whose sense of fulfillment comes from variety, not repetition. And maybe that's not something to fix. Maybe that's something to finally stop apologizing for. Because the world has enough specialists. What it desperately needs is more people brave enough to stay curious about everything.